Revisiting old memories always stirs up some nostalgia, but for Black Southerners in particular, the experience can arouse pinpricks of pain. When those of us who were in the first wave of racial transition make our journeys back to the past, we are often like the walking wounded. Remembering it all, the assaults on the spirit as well as the progress we have made can sometimes be difficult. But I've been finding my own way ever since. That was my recollection in the memoir, Multicolored Memories of a Black Southern Girl. Greg Samuel was also a pioneer of integration, and we met again to talk about the spiritual journey, one-on-one. It's interesting, I think we've kind of had parallel experiences because I was one of the first Black freshmen at the University of Florida, coming out of segregation and having that experience of crossing races. And I guess what I remember most about it was that sense of being, almost like an immigrant.
I can remember different tears, I call them, like being torn apart from my friends, my family, my culture, and different things that sort. And I had to make a lot of adjustments because when you get torn from something, you get into something new. Like I got new friends, I got my basketball and students and teachers, and so it was just a series and multiple things of tears, I call them.
That's very interesting, that tearing away, because I remember feeling that too and being able to describe it years later, because I felt like your old identity is stripped away. Whatever it is that was your grounding and that sense of self is gone and ripped apart in a lot of ways.
And the hardest part was becoming the new. I was both of us, we were I was thrust into another student. Now I become a series of adjusting to friends, students, my teachers, and the sports part of it too, because I grew up with my friends and we all played together, so it was a major adjustment. First day at school was a shock. I can remember walking in and with no support from my family. My dad Mom, just go get him, boy. And so I left school because after about 1 or 2 periods, it got real tough. So I left school and went to the school where my old friends were, Addicts High School. And my dad found out and he came and got me and brought me back, and he just said, you're gonna have to do this. So, but after a couple of my teachers, in fact, a couple of my coaches really supported me and became what I call my second dads, and that helped too.
So you found that umbrella, if you will, to come under then, of being a part of the sports team.
Yes.
And
that was major, the sports team, being connected to something. Because I wasn't quite connected to the school and the people, because there were walls, I guess, and so sports kind of connected me to some people that were involved in other sports, and racially that became a connection. Most people had a myth about blacks. It was a negative thing, blacks are this and blacks are that, but through sports, because I had a couple people say, you don't act black. I didn't know what that meant, but still that was connected me to South Broward High School, the sports part of it, so it got a little better. Now that I'm older and I can reflect and look back, there was a sense of preparation. My personality, the sports, my athletic gifts, and all that kind of stuff that God gave me prepared me for this particular mission. And you get to a point where when things are thrown at you, the words and the rocks and the whatever, and you learn from your personality that you know, I got to get through this. This is something that I'm called to do. But this is afterwards.
Yeah, right.
You know, you learn that after, you know, well, how did I do that? But it was like a spiritual calling, I think, that gave you the strength and the ability to get through that kind of thing. And I look back, preparation, you know, early on, Little League, baseball and basketball, I had a gift for that, and I guess God gave me a gift. So when that time came with the integration, the gift was used for strength.
So the tearing away didn't mean the total loss. It meant that there was something underneath there.
That's deep. That's
there was
good.
still something there at the core.
Right.
And if there's something at the core, then the tearing away doesn't end up being the tragedy. You know,
you make adjustments.
Right, and for me, it was
Same
writing.
Thing, yeah.
It was writing and music that allowed that journey, that gift. What about the youth today? You know, what are you seeing in the schools?
As I teach and coach and get involved with young people, the role model, the connection from generation to generation is completely gone. I knew when I grew up, there were guys older than me that taught me the way, the sports and the way to live and to do things and do things right. Now that's been lost because of different factors, and I think one of the factors is culture. They've lost their cultures. You got kids in school from different multicultures, and they're trying to connect to one another, you know, and I think that that's what helped me, I think, more than anything, is that connection. Looking back, and I could say, you know, this guy taught me this, and this guy did this for me, and it was like a foundation that was a long time ago, and the kids are not getting that now.
So in other words, we had a connection.
Right.
And then we could move away from that then and expand.
That's right.
And then the youth are in an expanded world, and they've got to work harder, it seems, or they have more challenges making the connection.
Exactly.
So it's like having a lot of choices, and then you've got to find out how to narrow them down to what works for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of choices, we didn't have a lot of choices. You know, it was more basic. We didn't have all the computers and all that kind of stuff. Plus, you know, my parents said, when you do this, you got to do it well. And, you know, the parent support and all that kind was there. And now, you know, I guess through different family issues, that's been lost. But, you know, I kind of take the kids aside and through my experiences try to relate and give them some things that they can use to reconnect.
So that's a real advantage then of continuing to share the story and recount the experiences, not just for ourselves, but for a connection, hopefully, for the generation.
And that's the process, but you don't learn it until you get through the early part, and then you learn how to teach it, and then you try to make people reconnect. That's and it's so thrilling to me because now I understand my purpose. My real purpose is to get through all of that and now teach and let them connect and stuff like that. So, what a major thing in my life to know your purpose and why you're really here. But it's only through education, my teaching, and certainly my coaching that I can do those things and reconnect the kids and stuff like that as a tool.
The tool. Yeah. Well, they say you can't have a testimony unless you have a test.
That's right. We've had some tests. I had some major tests, One occasion, I played baseball too. And we had a game in Miami Springs, and I was the only black in the whole stadium. Umpires white, all the players are white, and coaches are white, and I'm the only black, and you can hear words and negative things, but it had a motivational effect on me. Like, I want to do better. I want to prove that I'm a real person just like everybody else, and I could perform and with a lot of class and stuff like that. So, you know, it's stuff like that. You know, it kind of makes you a person. Now, I'm made a little bit better than I was before because of the adversities. And now my whole life is ministry. And ministry doesn't have to be just preaching the Word of God, but just learning somebody's hurt and pain and what they're going through and stuff like that, and try to heal and try to get people to understand this is what you need to try to get to the next level and stuff like that. So my whole life is just ministry, and I just thank God for the gifts and bring me to this point.
Well, those tests then can give you one of two roads then, I guess. You can either, you know, go down the road to pain and discouragement, or you can use it to go down the road of compassion for others and what they're going through.
That's right, and I look back and, you know, I was at that point one time where you want to quit, but, you know, thank God I kept going and got to a point now where, you know, it's easy to talk to somebody, and they, you know, they can see it in you. You know, a lot of my students, they see the radiance, they see the person, and they come up to me and say, Coach, can you share this with me? Can you help me understand this? And that's just one of the greatest things, to help them smile and stuff.